Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Op-Ed Average Podcast, or the OA Podcast, where we have a lot of opinions, but most of them are pretty average. If this is your very first episode of ours that you're listening to, welcome. I'm Monica.
And I'm Anna. Our episode today is a little review on the recently released movie, It Ends With Us. You've probably been living under a rock if you haven't heard of it, but it's a movie adaptation of a book written by Colleen Hoover. We thought we'd also include our thoughts on books that turn into movies and how close the books get or how far they end up being.
Before we jump into the episode, Anna, I think we should share a little OA thing about ourselves. We actually used to do this a couple of episodes back in season 1.
Ooh.
But if you haven't listened to one of our episodes before where we talked about an OA thing about ourselves, just real quick, Anna and I are Filipino, and being OA is also known as, overacting, or in this modern slang, being extra.
A little bit extra.
A little bit extra, or a lot extra, honestly. But we here at the OA Podcast, we're trying to redefine OA into a more positive thing.
Yes.
Positive
OA in the best
thing.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like we say at the end of every episode, stay OA in the best way. As long as it's in the best way, then you're all good.
It's all good.
So, Anna, do you want to start, or should I start?
Yeah, I actually thought of something in the 5 minutes that we went over this before. So we're gonna do something OA about ourselves when it comes to books and movies.
Mhm.
So I know we could say anything or do anything. So Monica and I are both like avid readers. We have the OA book club, which just had an amazing meeting this past weekend. So it'll be a couple weeks from now by the time this comes out. But we run a book club. We read I think a lot and as much as we can. So I have a Kindle. And an OA thing about me, and this is how I behave with a lot of movies as well, is that I give up really quickly if my interest isn't captured right away. Mon, you know this, right? We watch try to watch things together and stuff like that. But
she's just
I know
fast forward.
Yeah. Or with Ab and I, when we watch movies, I get bored really easy, and he's like this. I do this with YouTube. I'll turn it off right away if it doesn't interest me. But I will start a movie and I'll say let's give it 15 minutes. If we don't like it, then we'll turn it off. I do pretty much do the same thing with books. So the Kindle has this really cool feature where you can sample a book for free. So we both have Kindle Unlimited. So that's basically a monthly subscription that you pay. I think it's $9.99, and you get it's like a library, an unlimited amount of books that are part of that. Of course, new books and stuff like that aren't part of that plan, but you can sample them. So they'll give you maybe a chapter or so. To read before you commit to the book. So I always sample, and there have been many a books that I have stopped. Yeah. Shocking, right? That I have stopped and just been it's not for me. And there's even books that I've gone really, really far in, in the Kindle world. It's percentages, you're done with 47% of the book, 50%, blah, 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 where I've gone pretty far, halfway. And I'm I can't.
Do you know what they call that in the book talk world?
What?
They call it DNF. Did not finish.
Did not finish. My mind immediately went to something else.
What?
Well, do you know that, did you ever watch Jersey Shore?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, that saying that they have, right? It's
oh,
is it DTF or whatever?
Oh,
is that from Jersey Shore?
I don't
or
know.
Just in general?
I think that's just general.
In general, okay. I immediately thought of that. I don't know why, but yeah.
Well, yeah, in the book
talk, not that.
They call it DNFing, and it's when typically people just this is the point where I stopped in the book, whether it's early or in the middle or 75% of the thing. People just that's what they would call DNF.
Yeah, but I really feel man, if you get through half the book and it's still not piquing your interest or whatever, there's an issue there. But yeah, anyways. Okay, Mon, yours. Share.
So an OA thing about myself in regards to like books, because we were just talking about the Kindle. I have the Kindle, but I also have an affinity for actual books, like the hardcover, the physical books.
Mhm. Yes, you
Um,
do.
so, an OA thing about myself is that I will buy books, but I will never. You see these books back here? I have at least like this square I've read, and then this square I have not read.
I didn't
I
know.
bought them like months ago, and I was just like, "Oh, this looks like a good book to read. It's
Mhm.
on sale. I'm just gonna buy it." And
Mon,
like,
you said what gets you is deals, right? Like at Target
yeah,
or whatever, right?
because they have sometimes like buy two get one free or
Yeah,
buy one
yeah.
get one half off, and I was just like, I just like the feel of like a physical book. Because my first book that got me actually back into reading was one of them was Fourth Wing, and I bought the physical
Woohoo!
book of that. I'm not really sure why I committed to that because I didn't really I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I loved it. And then I
Yes,
bought the
yeah.
second physical book, and then I
Mhm.
pre-ordered the third book when it comes out in
Yes, yes.
January, December. Um,
January.
so I tend to buy books. I like seeing them.
Yeah.
Haven't read them,
You know, I
but
think the appeal is like, and you see this, like, you know how like it's all over social media and like, TikTok and all that stuff where people have libraries now. Like they
Mhm.
build libraries and their books are like color quoted, like, like
Oh
they're
yeah.
like ombre and all that kind of stuff. But like, I want, is that like a new thing? Because I feel like there was a point where most people, I think a lot of people were doing Kindles, but now it's such a thing to have books again, like if you
I
have the
think
space and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's been like vice versa. People who like physical books have been liking the accessibility and
Mhm.
portability of a Kindle, and then vice versa. People who just typically read ebooks have found a joy of like finding a book, especially if they already read it. They want
Mhm.
like a physical copy of the book that they
Yeah,
read,
that's true.
kind of like a trophy or something.
Yeah,
That's
I
like,
have some. I have 2 behind me, so I also have
mhm.
Fourth Wing. I don't read, like, physical books anymore. I was big on physical books years ago, and I actually didn't like, I thought Kindles were lame. Like, I was like, "Why? You want a physical book?" But I do have to say that I really like not having to prepare. Like, you're this is like, oh my god, this is, like, totally aging me, but, like, before it was like you had to think, like, a couple days or a week or so in advance. If you wanted to read something, you had to maybe order it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, or even further back in the day, like Borders. I don't know if you guys remember
Go to a
Borders.
library.
Oh no, I never went to the library, but I would like, like purchase a book, have it shipped, or like look for it somewhere. So
Yeah.
like it was like you had to like kind of do that. Well, now with a Kindle, it's like, I'll be like, oh, I want to start a new book tonight. Let me just browse around. And it's literally at your fingertips, which is, of course, the appeal of the Kindle. But I totally get it. Like books are so pretty. And it's really, I definitely have like a box in the garage of like all the old books that I have because I
I
do
mean,
like have quite a
they
few.
do like special editions
You do like
nowadays, and
special
they look
editions.
so cool. I
Yeah.
mean, Dave gave us one of
Yes.
Iron Flame or
Iron
Fourth
Flame.
Wing?
Yeah.
Iron
Oh, no,
Flame.
no,
It
no. I
was
think it was Iron Flame. No, Fourth Wing. He
Fourth
gave us
Wing,
the Christmas
the
edition.
holiday edition. It was so
Mhm.
cool.
Yes, yes. Yep.
But I mean, obviously, yes, I need to read them. But yeah, yeah, maybe by the end of this year. I promise to
Yeah.
not buy more books until
You read the ones you
I
have.
read them all.
Yeah. That's a good promise to make yourself. They're also like, it takes up space, right? So you
Yeah.
gotta, make use. All right. So
Yeah.
that's our OA thing. That's really good. I'm glad we brought that back.
Yeah, we'd love to hear an OA thing about yourself if there's anything extra about you when it comes to movies or for books. We'd love to read those. And if
Mhm.
you're willing, we'd love to share them too in the next episode.
Text us.
Yeah. Oh, we should probably do our shout out.
Yeah. So our last episode was who was it? It
Oh, by
was
that time. Okay, we're technically 2 episodes
episodes
ahead.
behind. Yeah, because we are efficient and we like
Pre-recording.
pre-recording. So basically the last one we're gonna talk about is the OA about being roommates, right?
So, yeah, like we mentioned at the end of every episode, um, if you're listening to the podcast, there's like a little link in the description box that says send us an OA text message while you're listening. Then you don't have to like, press pause or whatever. You can literally just like send us a text message and we get
Mhm.
it on our little app thing. So we were talking about roommates. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you should go check it
Mhm.
out. We'll link it down below in the description box.
So we have JJB, of course. So thanks, JJ, for using the text feature. We
Yeah.
also got some really cool stories from Dave the Dork Knight.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for sending us a little OA text message. Okay, let's jump into the rest of the episode.
Yes, let's.
Of course, with any kind of movie, book, review, this is your spoiler alert.
Yeah, thanks, Mon. Thanks for doing that.
If you have not read this book,
Mhm.
watch this movie, and you intend to and don't want to get spoiled, hold off here, go do that, and then come back and listen to
Yes.
the episode. But yes, this is your final warning before we start talking about everything.
Spoilers ahead.
Okay, so I mean, let's just jump into it. How did
Mhm.
you like this movie?
I really like this movie. Av and I went to watch it like the opening weekend, and I remember turning to him like really early in the movie, like I think, the first scene is them on the rooftop. Oh no, not the first scene, but their first scene together. The two characters, Lily and Ryle, right? That's the way you
Mhm.
pronounce it, like Ryle,
Mhm.
on the rooftop. And after that scene, like I turned to Av and I was like, oh my God, that was so good. So I really, really like the movie. I remembered a couple of things because it's a, book to movie adaptation. I remembered a couple of things later that I was like, oh, why did they include that? Like I totally understand like not everything can be put in the movie, but there was two like key parts that I wish they had kept in or, put in the movie, and we can discuss that later. But I personally really, really liked it. I want to say I like out of a 5 rating, which we never rate things, huh?
An OA star
Okay, I
rating,
know it's
yeah, if
okay.
you will. I
Yes,
don't know.
yes.
Well, I don't know if we'll stick to that, but
Okay.
how
So
many stars would you give it?
I would give it probably close to 4-star. Like I think if you didn't have how it's always like if you didn't have a book to compare it to, like then what would you like rank it or whatever? How would you rate it? But I feel like it's like a pretty good, like close, like 4 out of 5. I liked it a pretty good amount.
Okay, yeah. I think I would also give it a 3.8. Not quite a 4. Not quite a 4,
I would
but
go
I
like
did.
3 point, yeah, very similar, like almost a 4. So
Yeah.
let's go with, but we're both gonna rate it similarly.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie as well. Having also read the book beforehand, and granted, I read it a while ago, so I
Yes.
didn't like try and read it again before I watched the movie. I know a lot of people do that sometimes, and um, it could be good, it could be kind of bad because then you kind of just have it fresh in your mind what you imagine
Yeah,
the
and you're
book is
constantly
like.
comparing, right? If
Right.
it's like pretty fresh in your mind, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think, like you were saying, as it is standalone movie, I really enjoyed it. I would actually really watch it again. I will wait until it comes out on streaming to watch it
Yes,
again.
I thought that today, like, I wanna watch it again.
Mhm, mhm. I think that, yeah, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, they're the main characters. Blake Lively
Mhm.
played Lily, and Justin Baldoni played Ryle, and they also happen to be the respective producer and director of these movies,
Yes, yes.
of this movie. And yeah, I think they did a really good job. I understand that they did change some things about the book
Mhm.
to better fit a movie adaptation. Yeah, well, before we go into the differences, would you have like a part of the movie that stood out to you like the most? What would you consider is the best part?
I don't know. I'm a big Justin Baldoni fan, so I come from like Jane the Virgin. Like I really, really like
Yay!
Jane the Virgin. I liked him in Jane the Virgin, so I really, really like him as an actor. And like even like he has a podcast and wrote a book, and he seems like a good person. And we all know it's hard to not discuss, and I think maybe we'll touch a little bit on it little bit later. But there's a lot of controversy around this film because of him and Blake's relationship, but I really enjoyed him in the film. I really like that. I also really, really liked the flashbacks. I think those
Oh.
actually, there was definitely things that were missing. So we talk about the differences. There are some things in the flashbacks that were missing, but I thought the actress that played Lily, the young Lily, was like so good. Like she
Mhm,
sounds like Blake Lively. Like
mhm.
when they first did the first transition to the flashbacks, I was like, is Blake Lively like voicing this or something? Because
I have a theory that I feel like she did,
you
because
think
she
she
sounds
did?
really close to her in
Yes,
some way,
yes.
and
Yeah,
I
so I was
don't know if
like,
that was, like, I don't know, AI generated, because that could be a
mhm,
thing nowadays, but she sounds eerily
you
similar.
like
Now,
her.
unless she,
Yeah.
like, really honed in on her voice, that's really impressive,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but I feel like I don't know, I was watching, like, the lip movements, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Is that natural looking
Yeah.
to the
Or maybe
sound?"
they took Blake's voice and, like, toned it down a little bit and then kind of I don't know. I don't know that kind of technology. I'm not a
Yeah,
filmmaker or, like, anything like that. But, like,
yeah,
it just was like I looked at Ab and I was like, "Oh my god, she sounds just like her." So
yeah.
that was, like I enjoyed, like, the younger flashbacks. I don't know. I like the whole thing. What about you? What did you like about it?
I think I enjoyed, I don't know if I would call it the best part, but I think I really enjoyed seeing what her flower shop ended up looking like,
Mhm.
because, she was describing it in the book in such a different way that your typical flower shop
Mhm.
was going to. And I guess, you know, they did the whole segment of her like building it out from scratch.
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh, so that's what she meant by like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
type of mood and
Mhm.
feeling that she
Mhm.
wanted to incorporate, rather than just like your standard flower shop with like lights and vases
Yes.
and stuff like
I
that.
do have to say, I think they did a really good job with that because one of the things that I remember from the book about how they described the shop was like they said it kind of like had a steampunk vibe. So
Hmm.
like kind of like darker. It's not like like a
Bright,
bright pink.
cheery.
Yeah, yeah, like a
Yeah.
bright pink explosion of flowers. It's like, kind of like a little bit more darker themed and like the colors that you would think of are like browns and grays and blacks and stuff like that and like kind of like
Hmm.
an industrial feel to it. When I think
Right.
of steampunk, that's what I think of. And I think that they did a pretty good job of the
Hmm.
flower shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
it's just like, dang, like if you really think of, I don't know, just because like, I don't know, it takes a lot to fool me, I guess. But it's like, how much does that thing cost in Boston to run a shop like that? How beautiful it looks, how beautiful like the outside was. And like, are you really getting enough business to like, be able
I
to
mean,
run that shop?
I
But
wonder that about really any like small
small
business and
business,
like
yes,
their
yes.
shop. And it's like, man, how much do you pay for rent? And
Yes,
also, do you
yes.
like sell enough really to like
Yeah,
make the
yeah.
rent? Because I know rent is like, I mean,
And
depending on where your
especially like
location is.
we're talking there, it's set in Boston. So
Yeah.
that's like a major, top 5 major US city. So like I think of like I always do this like with Ab, like we look at like little shops like in the area and be like, how do you think they're still in business? And we always think it's like a front for something, like something,
Oh, yeah, like Mattress
oh
Firm.
yes, yes,
It's not
exactly. I
even
always
like
think
a small business, but it's like a huge
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
These
like
There's
how
like
do you
nobody
sell
in the parking
right,
lot.
right, it's a huge, like, space, like, of course, it's mattresses, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I 100% that's exactly what I thought of when I thought of it. I thought of Mattress Firm and mattresses in general. There's this Japanese restaurant that we go to, very local, and, like, there's a huge, like, it's a small one, it's not Mattress Firm, it's a mom and pop one. No
Mhm.
one's ever in there. And we're
Mm.
like, "How do they stay in
Mm.
business?"
It's totally a front for something.
Yeah, yeah.
How about on the flip side,
Mhm.
what did you not enjoy about the movie?
Oh God, Mom, these are good questions. Okay, I didn't. I mean, I'm sure we're gonna talk. Like, I didn't enjoy the press around it. To be honest with
Mm,
you, all the
I
drama.
know.
I feel like it ruined. I don't know. I'm sure it ruined it. It ruined it, but didn't because people wanted to watch it because they wanted to know what was happening with all the drama between the actors. So I felt like they probably got a ton of business that they may not have gotten if there wasn't that. So I didn't like that. It was just like, guys, calm
Do you
down. Like,
wanna expand on, like, if people are living under a rock and don't
okay,
know,
sure, sure.
what was the
Let's do a
press like?
really short explanation, I guess, because it's so
Crash
like
course, go.
yes, yeah, we were talking to another, our friend of ours, like we're going, oh, shout out to Rylene. Hi, Ry.
Hi.
We were talking about, she's like, I cannot escape like the coverage or media on this. So in short, like I guess in 60 seconds, let's see if I can do
Go.
this. So Justin Baldoni bought the rights to the movie years 2018. I think he bought the rights to the
Wow.
movie before it even blew up. So I apologize if this is not like 100% correct, but this is what I'm getting. So
Mhm.
he bought the rights. He developed the movie, worked with the author, blah, 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 all that stuff. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, I believe, came in and produced the movie. So the money is basically,
See, I didn't know that Ryan Reynolds was also a part of it. I thought he was just by accessory because he's the husband of
yeah, I
Blake
think
Lively. I
he's
thought it was
also,
just Blake Lively.
yeah, yeah. I think he is also part of the, producing it. So the
Mm,
producers, they basically hold the wallets on these. What are they? The purse strings on
they're the
these
budget
movies.
of the movie.
Yes, yes, they are, producing it. So I guess most of the time, I don't know, it's separate. Like the person that produces it is separate from the cast and the director, but this is a little sticky because she's also acting in the movie. So I think that they just didn't see eye to eye. Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I know I'm over my minute already, but it was very difficult because, he's the director. So in a sense, he should be basically saying how it goes, but the producer is paying for it. So I think that's one part of it. Another part of it is the way that it was marketed. So for those of you living under a rock and don't know, this book and movie is about domestic violence. It's a very, very serious
Mhm.
topic. And it was kind of made out to be like a fluffy rom-com, very flowery, very
Very
colorful.
Barbie-esque
Mhm.
or like a Barbie version of Deadpool or type of, press, and
Mhm.
obviously that plus that and domestic violence is not the same at
Yes,
all.
yeah.
Um, but I guess I get the idea that it's like very hard to market for a very serious movie when you want to build up the hype about it. I just feel
Mhm.
like they didn't have to because people were already so hyped when they first saw
Oh,
the
yeah.
teaser that like Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were going to be part of the
Yes.
movie. I think they would have been really successful either way, but
Yes.
the press before they released the movie really kind of just, like, soured a lot of people's views on it before they got to watch the movie.
Mhm.
Now, like, I think, like, me and Anna, we were able to, like, kind of put that aside and really just take the movie for as it is.
Yes.
But I know a lot of people had, like, some opinions.
A
We love
lot of
our
good
the
God,
average
there's a lot.
opinion
Yeah.
the average opinion about, like, the promo and whatever is that they did it very tone deaf and, they weren't tasteful in, talking about the serious topic, and so,
Yes.
a lot of people look down upon it because it's like you could have
Yeah.
taken this
But
opportunity to really speak on behalf of, like, a lot of
yes.
victims and their experiences and stuff like that.
Yes. And to clarify, so the drama is basically that Blake's side, or like, her, I believe that her team and the author wanted to marketed it the way it came out. So the flowery, the rom-commy, the, very fluffy Barbie-esque, um, you know,
Grab
marketing
your
behind it.
florals,
Yes,
grab your
bring your girlfriends.
girls,
Yes,
let's
was
talk
from that
people.
camp where Justin
Oh,
Baldoni was the only one basically speaking out on domestic violence and the true message of the film, and how he intended it. But a word that is often used in this whole thing is like steamrolled. Like a lot of people say like he
Oh.
was basically steamrolled in his efforts, because of course Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds are ultra famous, ultra wealthy, and all that kind of stuff. So basically like pretty much went their way, I would say. So I think all of that I didn't appreciate. And I also want to say, Mon, like, how you were saying, like, they could have marketed it on their own without that. I 100% believe so, because Blake Lively is a huge star in itself, in
Mm-hmm.
herself. So, people would have gone to, she had a ton of fans. I know a lot of people are really upset. So, I feel like, just by casting her made it a huge movie. And, the book itself is a huge book. Like I read this book like years and years, like pretty much like not too far after it came out. And it's a big book that honestly, like most of my girlfriends have read. Like I don't really know too many people, like, women in our age range, or we have a big age gap, but like a lot of women like our age, I want to say between like 30 to probably 50, have heard and possibly have read this book. So it definitely had the hype regardless of this marketing, like
Yeah.
the way they marketed it.
Yeah, and honestly, it all kickstarted from the very odd thing that these are the two main characters who are
Mhm.
supposed to be in a relationship, and in all of the promo, they were never seen together
Mhm.
posing for a picture, doing interviews. They did all of their press separately. So it's
Mhm.
like it's really an odd thing to see that the two main people, especially as big names as they are, to not
Mhm.
even be doing their press tours together.
Yes.
So that kind of just
Couldn't
got a
they
lot of people
couldn't
going
they
into
have
this
just faked
situation.
it for the tour?
They're actors,
Like,
right? The
yeah, like
faked.
I don't understand, but okay.
But
So, yeah,
yeah, to be
that's
fair,
our
we don't know the whole situation
Mhm.
and we don't know who's right, who's wrong, or whatever. But movie alone, uh,
We liked it.
we liked it.
Mhm.
Would you say that it's just the press that was like the worst part of the thing?
I think so. I think so. Should we talk about like the differences? Is that like, is
I
there
have one worst part of the
okay.
movie.
Okay.
I don't like the fashion that they gave Blake
Oh,
Lively's
yeah.
character.
Oh, I am so sorry that I missed that, but 100%. She wasn't like that in the book. I don't know if they
I
described her
didn't
fashion in the book.
envision her like
Mhm,
that. I understand she's older because, to make it more realistic, both Lily and Ryle's characters were aged up to be a
mhm,
little bit more realistic. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of the fashion choices for her character, I didn't like it. They weren't very flattering on her.
yeah.
And honestly, like, Blake Lively has dressed in like very gorgeous outfits before, like on the red carpet or whatever. And a lot of
Yeah,
people are
she's a
saying it was like
style
her own
icon.
style. But they're saying that this was like her style spin
Mhm,
on it. And I don't know. I feel like that did sour a little bit of my view
mhm.
on the character. I was like, why would you wear that? Like the
You know
fishnet stockings and the very glittery boots.
yeah, and the hair, like the crazy in that party, the party was just like but Mon, I
Yeah.
do have to say, so, um, I don't know, like we followed the making of this movie pretty closely, right? Like there was, so it was one of those things where they would film in it was filmed in New York, but set in Boston. And there
Mhm.
were like crowds outside the set, and like, the outdoor sets and all that kind of stuff. Like they would post on Instagram and social media, like what they would see them wearing and like all this stuff. And the fashion was an issue from the get-go. Like
Mhm.
people were criticizing that like from the very beginning, like what? It was just like wild. Like just I didn't get that vibe from Lily in the book. Like I don't
Mhm.
really think that they super described like every outfit she was wearing. I don't believe so, but yeah, you're right. The fashion was a miss, I think.
Yeah. On that. Good movie, good movie. Okay, well, speaking of differences,
Mhm.
what were some other differences?
So we already talked about the age gap, right?
Mhm,
So do you want to
mhm.
share like why do you know why they did that, right?
Well, Well, I mean, for the topic, I mean, I would assume they would want to have more mature people dealing
Mhm,
with that issue.
mhm.
But also because, like, it's not very realistic to have, what is it, neurosurgeon at the
Yeah,
age of, like,
yeah.
20 early 20s or something?
Yeah, I think he was supposed to be, like, mid to late 20s, but it's
Ah,
still like, that's still not realistic to have, like,
right.
a very accomplished neurosurgeon, so
Yeah.
Ryle's character is a neurosurgeon, so that just didn't work, but yeah, they aged them, so I think for me, there's two scenes, I guess, that, like, I thought about during watching it, and I was like, "Oh, man, they're not gonna show this?" Like,
Mhm,
one of the things well, they kind of showed it was, like so in one of the flashbacks, so basically the background story is that Lily's parents um Lily's mother was abused by her father, like basically her whole childhood growing up and all that kind of stuff. And she basically witnessed her father beating her mother and all this kind of stuff. And one of the scenes was like they showed it a little bit, but Mon, do you remember it was like when her dad was like on the couch or whatever beating her mom? There was a point in the book, like one of the climactic parts was Lily actually came with a bat behind her dad and was about to like swing at him to help her mom. But Ryle, not, I'm sorry, not Ryle, Atlas, the boy, from when she was young, like grabbed her and basically like pulled her away from it to like, kind of help her out. Like, I kind of wish they showed that because I feel like that was such a big part in the book. And then another thing a lot of people were talking about is, do you remember the magnet, the bib magnet or whatever, best in Boston? So
mhm.
there was like one of the triggers for Ryle, one of the times that he like abused her, he found a magnet that Lily had and he realized that it came from her like childhood like sweetheart. And it was a like pretty much like a turning point in the movie. I think that was like the main, like abuse that she suffered from him or whatever. And yeah, I think that those two things, I know the magnet for sure people are talking about like they wish they were that was in it, but those are the things that I thought about when I watched the movie.
Because they had to age up and they had to make it like a little bit more modern. Like in the very beginning scene when they meet for the first time, um, the crypto bro thing kind of threw me off, because I don't think that was in the book,
No,
but
I don't think
I
so.
know that was like to make it more of a modern day reference
Mhm.
type thing, and I get it. Just those small changes to kind of when like they're older, they have different views and stuff like that. They've
Mhm.
experienced different things and whatnot. The other thing I noticed, they didn't highlight Lily's fake friend in her diary,
Yes,
Ellen.
yes. That was
They
big.
kind of just really glazed over it. It was like a flash in the scene,
Yeah, or like
but
an Easter egg almost. Like it was just like a
kind
very
of.
quick, like, like if you didn't read the book, you wouldn't have known the context of them showing that or
Right,
whatever.
because she writes "Dear Ellen" in her journals a lot,
Mhm.
and, that reference comes from she watches Ellen well, her character watches Ellen DeGeneres all the time
Mhm.
when she was younger, but, they also kind of showed Ellen DeGeneres on the in the movie, like her watching TV, but they
Mhm.
never really, like, directly referenced it, and a lot of
Right.
people said it was because of Ellen DeGeneres's controversy thing, so they just didn't bother to,
Put
include
it
her.
in. Yeah,
'Cause they didn't
yeah.
even say, like, the whole "just keep swimming,"
Yeah, yeah, that's a huge
reference.
line, yeah, and
Mhm,
also, it was like, in the book, the reason she was brought back to thinking about Atlas, who is the boy that she was in love with growing up, was that, like, I think, like, I don't know how, but, like, she was reading her old diaries, right? Like, I don't know if she had moved and she found them, I think, or, like, something like
something
that,
like
or
that.
yeah, or, like, because her father passed away, she went home and grabbed some stuff, and then something like that, but it was, like, that's what brought her to, like, think of Atlas was that she was reading her diaries, and that part was, like,
Mhm.
completely left out of the movie.
Right, and it was one of the things that I think Ryle had found, which also
Yes,
gotten
yes.
really angry about
Mhm,
and
mhm.
also assaulted her,
Yeah.
and, I guess they kinda just left that part out, or they felt like there
Mhm.
was already enough moments to really, like, show,
Yeah.
Ryle's, aggression,
Right, right.
and, yeah, I feel like they didn't, not that I'm complaining, but I feel like they really didn't make Ryle look like the bad guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was just going through a lot of things that doesn't
Mhm.
justify hurting anybody,
Of
but
course.
it's like, I think they did, I guess you can say they kinda did, like, a really good job of not really painting him to be a villain. And now I don't know if that's because he's, like, a very attractive guy. I mean, if you haven't seen Justin Baldoni, he's a very handsome dude,
Yes,
okay?
yes. He's a very I that's a thing also that is just, like, kind of a not a miss because I like him it's like he's so likable, like, if for us that are Jane the Virgin fans, like, you've liked him for, like, 10 years at this point, and then to put him in that role is just, like, I don't know if it's, like, super believable, does that make sense? Although I loved, watching him, and he's a great actor and all that stuff, it's just, like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's trying to, I guess, not always be the good guy.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess.
it's showing his range, I guess, as an actor,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They didn't really portray him to be the bad guy, but also they didn't really portray Atlas as anything big either. I know
Mhm.
Lily was in love with Atlas, and clearly when they were young and teenagers, they were in love. But because it was mainly flashbacks of Atlas and Lily, Atlas as an adult, when he appeared in her life, didn't really seem like much connection at
Yeah,
all, at
like,
least
you
for
didn't have,
me.
like, an attachment to him, right? You didn't have
Yeah.
an attachment to him. Real quick, I just wanna go back to, what you were talking about earlier about the diary. You're
Mhm.
totally right. So, in the book, Ryle found her diary, and I wanna say that was, like, the final thing
That was
that
the
set him off.
thing.
I don't know if it was the magnet. It was one of those things, but the way he found out in the book, I mean, I'm sorry, in the movie where he found his like card with his phone number, remember in the back of her phone, that never happened in the book. I don't believe that that ever happened.
I think you could find his number in the back of her,
He did
phone.
like Ryle did in the
Uh-huh.
because what I from what I remember, there was 3 instances that triggered him. The first one was that thing, was the pot scene or the oven thing,
Cooking
right? The
something.
cooking. It was like a reflex almost, right? So you weren't sure. I wanna say the other 2 were exactly what we talked about, the magnet um and the magnet and the diary. What I remember, and it's been like at least a year since I've read this. I did do a reread,
Same,
but I
yeah.
remember I believe she actually got rid of his number when he gave it to her, when Atlas gave it to her, but she memorized it. And that's when she like kind of thought to herself, like, shit, I knew I was in trouble all along because I memorized his number. Something to that effect. But
Oh.
I'm not sure. Like I kind of remember that, but again, it's been a while since I don't know if maybe he did find it, but,
I
I don't
feel
know.
like he found it, and also the part with, like, him cooking, I remember it was because she was, like, teasing or making fun of him and his, like, surgery or whatever, and
Mhm,
he didn't appreciate the fact that she was, like, kind of downplaying his surgery, so he was
mhm.
kinda getting irritated, and then, like, when he got burned or whatever, I think she was also, like, laughing about it, and, I think that spurred him on even more, and then
Yeah,
eventually an accident happened.
yeah.
But they were definitely, like, smaller, not smaller, I don't know what the word is, but it wasn't as extravagant, I guess, as I imagined it in the books.
Mhm.
But I don't remember a carved heart. Do you remember a
No,
carved heart in the
I
book?
don't remember that either.
Maybe that
I
was supposed to
yeah.
replace the magnet, I don't know.
Yes, yeah, I think so because I feel like when she or like even like the diaries, like when she went home, she saw the carved heart like in her jewelry box, and that was
Mhm.
like the first time I think that they had done a flashback, and or I don't know if they did a flashback. She thought of Atlas at that time or something like that. But yeah, or like I think when she grabbed the wooden heart, in her jewelry box, she looked out the window and it showed like the window that he would like, go in and out of. So yeah, I think that there was like some symbolism there, but that I don't believe that was in the book either.
Right.
Yeah.
Lots of little tweaks, but really, if you hadn't known from the book,
Mhm.
from reading it previously, I feel like it all still went pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
It's still
I
kind of all makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I absolutely think like I completely understand that you can't put everything in. There's
Mm-mm.
no way. It's a movie, 90-minute to 2-hour movie. I think they did a good job. I think it was a good adaptation. I really, really enjoyed myself. I liked watching it. And at the end, I cried and, all that kind of stuff. So it was definitely, for me, it was good. I liked it. There's definitely like a lot worse adaptations
Yes.
out
Right. So, I
there.
mean, before we move on to that,
Yeah.
so you feel like it did the book justice?
I think so. It like the feel of it is there. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
another thing that I want to like just really quickly touch on was like I think when I first read the book, I don't think I knew about the domestic violence like aspect of it. I think it was just everyone was reading it and everyone was like it's so good blah blah blah. And I read it so it was kind of like that too. Like if you went into that not knowing what it was about, it would have surprised you like similar to the book like, about the domestic violence. So I think I liked it.
Did
Yeah.
Av know when you took
Well,
when
he
you watched it
said
with you?
he knew from the trailers. Like you could kind of figure it out from the trailers. But
Oh.
yeah, he didn't know really anything about it until, all he knew was the trailer. I never said anything to him or whatever. So
Oh, okay. I think,
yeah.
like, yeah, he might have thought it was like a rom-com or something
We all know he
because he
loves
loves to
rom-coms.
exactly,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. What did you
Uh,
think? Like, did you think it was pretty true?
yeah, I think it was probably one of the better, book at least, like, in terms of, like, romance and stuff like that. I feel like it was a decent, book to movie adaptation.
Mhm.
That we have had our share of not so good book to movie adaptations. I feel like when we mention book to movie adaptations and ones that are not particularly good, I feel like there's one that comes to mind.
Guess. Can you guys guess?
If you had to guess one in our
Mhm,
lifetime,
mhm.
um, what book that turned to like a book series,
Yeah. And
that
we'll give
turned
you a
into
hint. It starts with a T and ends with a light.
there's a sparkly vampire in it. Yeah, I feel like Twilight, that series. I
Yeah.
love that book when I was
Mhm,
younger. Like, it was probably one of the first like hard copy books that I read. I wasn't much of a Harry Potter book reader.
mhm.
I enjoyed some of the movies, but the Twilight books, I bought every single one of those. And, like, up to the point where, like, I waited until, like, Barnes& and Nobles was gonna release it, and I went straight to Barnes& and Nobles, and I bought
Yeah,
the 2nd book, the 3rd book,
yeah.
all of that, and when the movies came out,
Mhm,
I don't know if it's because we were younger or whatever, and we had this huge fantasy in our head of a vampire with
mhm.
this, very basic girl, they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. It just not was not done very
So
well.
can I just say I stood in line for the Breaking Dawn like drop. We stayed at freaking border. I think it was Barnes and Noble until midnight. They had a
Wow.
party, like a party for like
Wow.
customers or whatever. And we said, yeah, I was everyone. I think a lot of people know I was super into. We're both super into Twilight and
Yeah.
Twilight. I'm a good amount older than Mon, so it really spanned. Like I think the popularity of this was like there's like moms and grandmas reading it, and all that kind of stuff. I think my mom read Twilight, to be honest with you, but like it was huge, just a huge book series. Even before I think the movies came out, it was a huge book series. But then now I'm like, I have not read it since that time. I want
Me
to
neither.
read it kind of just to be like, was it really that good? Or was I just like in the mindset of like, I don't know. It was a for me, I was going through a very, very difficult time in my life, and it like made me happy. Like it was like a like something
It
that
was an
cheered me
escape.
up. Yeah, it was an escape. Very good.
Mhm.
That's a very good thing. But like I don't know what I have so many things that I think like why I thought the movies are bad. Do you want to start or like
I mean, one could be Kristen Stewart.
yeah. The cat well, like the Kristen Stewart, I just don't feel like I mean, you could just basically say the acting just all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
feel like the vision for that was not great.
mhm,
Like, I feel like they should have had someone else, like, really, bring that vision to life because
mhm.
it was very cheesy, and, I mean, knowing that it's about vampires and werewolves and all that stuff, of course, it's gonna
Mhm.
be cheesy, but there's ways to do that, like, with a tasteful way that it's like I
Right.
mean, what's some of those, like, vampire movies? I mean, I know they're not books, but, like, there's
Mhm.
very successful vampire
Oh,
movies
yeah,
where
one of them I can think of. So one of them one of my I'm big into vampires, so vampires
Mhm.
are like that genre is big for me. I like Underworld. I don't know if you've ever
Oh,
heard of
yeah,
that
yeah. I
series with
enjoy Underworld.
Kate Beckinsale. So that's
Mhm.
much darker. It's a very dark genre. No one sparkles and no one's like that pretty in it and stuff.
A
She is
lot of
beautiful.
blood there.
Yes, yes. But that was a very well done, not cheesy series. So that was a really, really good one. I mean, like I think a lot of people know, like I'm big on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was like a series also. I think like so Kristen Stewart I think was a miss. I think the acting as a whole, I think they kind of like chose people that could look the part, but maybe not play the part, if that makes sense. Like they look
Mm,
like the characters, but they couldn't act. You know what I mean? Like even I think Robert Pattinson, who everyone loves, I still love Robert Pattinson. He's so handsome and all that kind of, he's so hyped up, total heartthrob. Till now, I think like his acting got better. Like
yes.
as he got older, that was like his first, like he was in Harry Potter, very, pretty, mid medium part in Harry Potter, but like now he's like a real true actor. But I think that at that time, so Mon, can I ask you a question? I could
Mhm.
answer this for myself, but like, who do you think would have been a good Bella at the time rather than Kristen Stewart? Because my pick would have been, I'll share. Do you know who Alexis Bledel is from Gilmore Girls?
Oh, I could yeah, I could kinda see her.
Like very plain, very like, but I think,
Demure.
yeah, but
Very
I think
cutesy.
the thing that I think Alexis Bledel, like her name was kind of thrown around, but I feel like she was probably at the time already too old for the part. But I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that
'cause they
that
had to
was,
fool people.
yeah, they're high school. So for some reason, when I think of Bella, like that's who like comes to mind.
Yeah, I could see her. I don't know if I just have some bias against her from Gilmore Girls, but,
Yeah, I didn't like that show either.
she was very immortalized in my mind as Rory Gilmore,
Mhm.
the annoying daughter.
Yes, yes,
Um, but yeah, I don't know who I would cast, in place of Bella,
but not
but
Kristen Stewart.
not Kristen Stewart. And, I mean, if anything, the best character in that movie series was the guy who played Charlie.
That's what Av always says. He was like
He's so
the best
funny.
actor. He was
He's
like
the one who fits the role
yeah,
perfectly,
yeah. But I think he
honestly.
was like a legit actor, like he's older and like experienced and all that stuff. But
How'd
yeah,
they get him
I
on Twilight?
100% agree that he was really, really good in it. Can I share like another thing that
Mhm,
I didn't like about it? So I just thought this is like different things, but like how like they're vampires. They're not
mhm.
supposed to like age and they're not supposed to change their looks all the time. Like from movie to movie, all the Cullen siblings look like pretty different from, how they started. And I just like,
I think because in the beginning, they didn't have a really big budget, and then they blew
yeah,
up, and then their
yeah,
budget was like, okay, makeup and hair
yeah,
and set
true.
design and all
But
of
I
that
still
stuff.
think like to be true to it, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, from what I hear from a lot of people, I mean, when they come to like book to movie adaptations, I know it's very hard for for the author themselves to like really separate themselves because they have their own vision of it.
Yes.
The director has their own vision of it, the producer has their own vision of it, and sometimes you can't get the author away from like getting
That
their
hap
hands in the thing
that
a lot.
happens often, I think, with,
Mhm.
like especially with, like, these, like, book talk books that are all
Mhm.
being adapted to movies, like, we know, like, that After series, that one that
Mhm.
I think was a fanfic, right? I wanna say I feel like that was, like, a Harry Styles fanfic that, like, spawned, like, 5 awful movies, but, like, at the
Yeah.
very end, I think they banned the author from production. Like,
Mhm.
she couldn't have any part in it because, it was just, like, her hands were just too far in the production where
I mean, obviously there have been, like, movies that have been successful
Mhm,
from, like, book to movies, and Harry Potter is obviously one of those big
mhm.
series that turned into a full-fledged movie series.
Oh my
I
gosh.
mean, they did, like, a great job. I There obviously are, like, some, parts of it that they cut out, left
Mhm,
out, slightly altered, but
mhm,
overall, as a series, like, they did it really well.
mhm.
I think Dune is, like, a book series and is actually doing really well in recent movies.
Yes,
This is
such
actually,
good
like, another
movies.
remake, right? This isn't, like, the
Yeah, I
first
wanna
Dune
say
movie.
I think this is already, like, the 3rd.
Oh.
Like, they made it, like if I correct I'm not sure. I'm, like, 99% sure that this is right, but they did one, like, maybe in the '70s, like, that was,
Oh.
like, the very first one, and I wanna say maybe there was one in the '80s or '90s that was, like, a
Oh.
little bit more, but yeah, this is not the first time that Dune was adapted, and the movies are I've never read the books,
I
the
haven't read
movies
them. I haven't even
really
watched the movies either, but I've heard really good things.
they're amazing. They're amazing, like, even if they're very long, but, like, for
Mhm,
some reason, like, they're entertaining. They're, like, really, really good movies.
mhm,
Going back to Harry Potter, what I think I could say about that is I feel like they got so lucky because the people they casted were, like, dead
dead
on.
on, yeah,
I read the series, but I read it when they were already movies, but I feel like they got the right actors. They kind of grew up together and like became good actors and stuff like that. So I think that was
mhm.
like a little bit of luck that
Yeah,
Twilight didn't have, I think,
right, yes, I
Yeah.
agree, and, yeah, you don't get that too often, and,
Mhm.
sometimes, like, book series, they can be so successful to be a adapted into movies
Mhm.
like Harry Potter, but there's some movies or some book series that just started out as movies and then they just
Mhm.
did not even finish
Mhm.
as movies.
Like
And
Divergent. Is that the one?
Divergent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. And honestly, I was really intrigued. I didn't get to read the books. I
Mhm.
watched the movies first, but I was intrigued to read the books. But yeah, from what I heard is that they were not doing the series justice and it wasn't getting a lot of attention, I guess,
Mhm.
after the second movie, third movie.
So I read the books and
Yeah. Is it
I
four?
it's so funny. There's 3 books, I think, but
Okay.
they always, like so this is something that Twilight did that, like, I think everyone copied afterwards is that Twilight did is 4 books, right? It's 4 books.
Yes.
So Twilight, what is it? What is it? The one with Jacob, I can't remember that one.
Eclipse?
Eclipse was the 3rd one, and then Breaking Dawn
Breaking
was it
Dawn.
was the last one. There was one, it was like Moon something. New Moon.
New Moon.
Yeah.
Duh.
So what they end up doing is they end up breaking the last book into 2 movies. I
Mhm.
kind of feel like they do it unnecessarily. They do it for money. Like
Money
it
grab
just,
for sure.
it's a money grab. So I feel like I think that Hunger Games did that, I believe.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think Divergent tried to do that.
Oh,
Harry
yeah.
Potter did it, but I think Harry Potter is like pretty valid.
Right.
But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, Divergent, it's funny, I gave up on the books the same place that I gave up
Oh,
like in the
well,
movies.
maybe
Like
it was
it's
true
just
then.
yeah,
Maybe
it's
it's been
not
true.
good. It's not good.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
unfortunate.
just weird. Another one that I wanted to just briefly touch on is like
Mhm.
Lord of the Rings. So
Oh,
Lord
yeah.
of the Rings is a super popular like movie series. Really, really old school books. Like I want to say, weren't those like from the 70s or 80s or something like that? But something that they did that was really, really cool. because the characters, you know how like sometimes like a perfect example is like Stranger Things. Like
Mhm.
the kid people started as kids and now they're like freaking hecka old and it looks weird now that they're still
Right.
filming because so what Lord of the Rings did was that they had their primary cast live in New Zealand for one full year. And then
Oh.
they actually filmed all three movies at the same time.
Oh,
So that
shoot.
so they had to commit. So it was like I believe like a whole year, and then they just brought them back for reshoots like afterwards if they needed to, but they wanted it to be very consistent. And it
Ah.
worked. Like I think Lord of the Rings is one of the best adapted book to movie series. I feel like there's a ton that's left out because they're such long books and it's so
Sure.
detailed, but it really like comes off like super well. So
They really
yeah.
built the world,
Yes.
really well.
Yeah. I
Um,
love Lord of the Rings. So yeah.
I enjoyed, like, the first 2 movies. They're really long, but
They're
I guess
really
because the
long.
books
Yes.
are really long.
Yeah.
But I agree, the ones that I did watch, they were, like, very well produced.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, like, obviously there's so many more book to movie
Mhm.
adaptations that are very popular. We can't have possibly gone over them all,
Yes.
but
Yes.
if you guys are listening, if there are like really good book to movie adaptations that you recommend or love, we would love to hear them. Obviously, like It Ends With Us is one of the more current ones, but there's so
Yes.
many more like book talk, and by book
Mhm.
talk I mean like books that are being hyped up on TikTok recently
Yes.
on
There's
any
so
social media.
many.
Honestly, a lot of them are here.
Yeah.
um, but a lot of them are being turned into movies, and
Mhm.
honestly, maybe like we should keep doing this every time like a movie comes out. Is like I'm
I
gonna read the book,
know. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we're gonna compare the movie, and
Mhm.
then talk about it. Because
Yes,
I don't
there's
know, I
so
thought that's
many.
pretty fun.
And even like a lot of books that have been turned into like series, like TV series. We didn't even touch
Yes,
on that. So that could
right.
be a future one also. So yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to. I would love
Mhm.
to. That about wraps up this episode. We
Mhm.
hope you guys enjoyed listening. Um, if you have watched It Ends With Us, well, tell us what do you think about it?
And also tell us whose team you're on.
Are you Team Blake?
Or are
Are
you
you
team
Team
Justin?
Justin?
Yes, yes.
Or
Justin.
if not biased at all.
We're
uh,
unbiased here.
Yeah, if It Ends With Us is not your speed, yeah, let us know about a book to movie adaptation that you think is great. Share with us. We'd love to hear them. You can always comment or send us a DM, send us an OA text message. We are very accessible.
Okay. We're
Not
so sad.
accessible in that way. Wait a minute. You
Okay.
know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yes, yes. Okay. Don't forget to follow, like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast. We're on IG, Threads, and YouTube. Let us know what you'd like to see more of. And please, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, give us a thumbs up. Do that like and subscribe. It really, really helps our
Really does.
algorithm, whatever that means. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, our last shameless plug. Because we've plugged so much. Last shameless plug. We have actually made some OA candles to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of doing this podcast. I have some. There's actually one big one left when we're recording
Ooh.
this, and then I have mine that's burning, and then other ones back here. You can still grab the smaller version of the candle. This one's a 12 ounce. There's some that are the more compact 5 ounce tins. They smell like raspberries and prosecco.
Yeah.
Very lovely. You can grab them on castlecrafted.com. We'll leave that in the link in the description down below. All of these proceeds will be going towards to improving our podcast. We'd like to make this, I don't know where we take it. But we'd like to
Yeah,
make this
to move
podcast
forward,
better
yes.
and more enjoyable for you guys to
Yeah.
listen.
And last shameless plug, while you're on the Castle Crafted website, grab a couple of other things that Mon has worked so hard at. There's soaps, there's wax melts, there's so many, everything, like, continuously going broke on the Castle Crafted website. But yes, please support for small business. And yeah, that's it for today. Is that it? Anything else we're trying to sell?
I think that's it. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap
All
it
right,
up.
all right.
Okay, but until next time, friends.
Stay OA.
In the best way.
Bye. Bye, everybody. I'm going to read Twilight now. I just want to see if it's actually good. But yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.